Author, leadership trainer, and HR strategist, John Antonucci has over 20 years of business and leadership experience, ranging from coaching youth sports to international business leadership. He is also an internationally recognized and award-winning speaker and the founder of SML Consultive, a firm that provides organizations with dynamic solutions to empower positive employee experiences, productive employee engagement, and sustainable employee retention. In his rare moments of free time, he works me in every once in a while. In his rare moments of free time, John enjoys playing various sports, strumming the acoustic guitar, and enjoying the natural beauty of the mountains. Do I need to read regarding the presentation? He will be offering two options.
Oh no, that was for the district leadership to decide which one they wanted.
Yes. So please help me welcome Mr. John Antonucci.
Thank you, Randy. Thanks, Randy. Good morning to every single one of you. Thank you so much for being here with me this morning. Before I say too much, I'm going to jump right to my second slide because I'm going to invite you guys to scan this QR code. In a normal business setting, we would have booklets that we would pass out to everybody here for the purpose of following along. There's some fill in the blanks. There's an activity we'll do in a little bit. It is going to ask you, I think, for your name and your email. We strip the form down as much as you can. I promise you will not receive any spam. My guarantee to you. What that does is it'll send you the PDF version of this booklet to your email address, and that will be very handy for you while we're talking today. If you don't choose to do that, that is your prerogative, but I wanted to do that. As Randy already said, my name is John Antonucci. I have a privilege of being a Toastmaster for a couple of years now, and what I'm going to bring to you this morning is something that my company, SML Consultive, does for many professionals. We call this session Communicating on a Higher Level. As Toastmasters, we are all, in theory, effective communicators. So what in the world do we have to share about communication today? You're about ready to find out. Let me know if we need more time with this screen up. Does anybody need additional time with this screen up? I see at least one person. Yep, I see it. Perfect. Thank you so much. I want to make sure everybody has what they need. Okay, perfect. As we get started today, our big idea is that high-level leaders communicate on a higher level. Now, that's kind of like, seriously, John, like I walked up two flights of stairs and then found this room in the back of nowhere, did 3 spins, etc. to read this. But I think just this idea alone, just recognizing that if you want to be a high-level leader, you're going to need to communicate on a higher level, that will put you ahead of most leaders. Because most leaders don't even take this into consideration. They say, I've got a title and you need to listen to me. Sometimes we as Toastmasters do that. I've got a slot, you need to listen to me. And today I hope that we can broaden our perspective on communication. If you like that thought, or if you don't, here's a quote of the day I'd like to start with. And this is by Maya Angelou. Can I get somebody here to read our quote of the day? Go ahead.
I've learned that people will forget what you said. People will forget what you did. But people will never forget how you made them feel. Maya Angelou.
How does that resonate with y'all?
Yeah.
Anybody have any thoughts they would add to that? Or any disagreement? Maybe you say, I don't like that at all. That's stupid. Please.
I think to do that, you have to have alignment with what people want.
Absolutely.
So you need to know who your audience is inside and out.
Absolutely.
Before you even put something up.
Yes, and we're going to come back to that. Don't let me forget that. When we get to our second key takeaway, we're going to hit that. That is so hard. Yes, sir?
It will depend upon how open that you are, that you, as much as you allow yourself to be available to people, they are going to feel your presence.
Yes. How many of you have been in a conversation with someone and they were talking and you were talking, but you knew they weren't there? Their mind was a million miles away. They were placating you for the sake, and you didn't feel important to them. You didn't feel like they actually wanted to be in dialogue. And I think this happens a lot, especially if you become an author or you get something where you're speaking on a large stage and you got 50 people in front of you and you have to learn to be present in that moment with the one person in front of you, knowing there's 49 more, but being present with that one, because people aren't going to remember what you said. They're probably not even going to remember what you did. They are absolutely going to remember how you made them feel. And I bet you if we had time and we went around the room, there's probably a story every single person here could tell. Maybe you met your hero. Maybe you met a sport legend. Maybe you met someone from Hollywood and you really looked up to them for a long time, but they brushed you off as unimportant. And it ruined everything that you thought about them. So our first key takeaway that I want to bring to us this morning is, again, kind of a duh moment, but it's that communication is harder than we think. Communication is harder than we think. If you downloaded the booklet, this is going to be your first fill in the blank that you have there in your booklet. Feel free to put this in. Do you see it? I see what are you talking about? Did you get it in your email?
I had to log in, and now it's telling me that it will send me an email shortly.
Correct. So check your email. It should already be there. Usually,
I didn't get the email.
You didn't get the. Did you fat finger your email address? No. I'm just joking. So you put your email, but it hasn't gotten to you yet.
Correct.
Okay.
Got it.
You got it now. Let's maybe refreshers. All of our beta testing for this said that we got it within 24 seconds. So we felt that it was a strategic way. Again, normally we would bring in actual booklets. Two reasons we didn't today. Number one, booklets are very expensive. And reason number two is because my printer got called, the manager of the print shop that I have a special deal with that makes it less expensive got called to jury duty all week. And so getting something done by yesterday was not a possibility for him. So we have digital versions for everybody. Have you got it yet?
No, but I'm going to check my other email.
Okay. It should go to whichever email address you put in.
Unless I fat fingered it.
It's possible. Okay. Communication is harder than we think. Now, I think a lot of us, we're Toastmasters. And as Toastmasters, we don't really think communication is that hard. We think the hardest thing is just getting up front. Right? We will back off and procrastinate and make excuses and whatever just to not get up front. But once we're up front, we're like, I said what I said. What do you want? I had it all written out. I read it. I said it. And I don't know that we necessarily take into account exactly how difficult communication is. And so what I'm going to do here this morning is we're going to spend the next probably 10 to 15 minutes in an exercise that's not going to have me communicating, but it's going to demonstrate how difficult communication is. Now, I'm curious, do we have anybody in this room that's super brave and is willing to say, I think I am a good communicator? Perfect. All right. Let's get, what's your name?
Frank.
Frank, come on up. Frank, come on up. Let's welcome Frank to the front of the room. So here's what we're going to do. If you have your booklet, it's on page 6. If you don't have your booklet or you didn't want to give me your email address because, let's just face it, most of the time that does not end well for people, I do have some paper copies of what we're getting ready to do. So who would like a paper copy? All right. Sharon, would you be willing to pass them? And then what you guys are going to need to do is break them in half, because I'm giving you two copies right now. So break them in half if you got 2 people at your table. Although we have plenty, we might be able to give each person a full page. As she's handing out this worksheet, there are only going to be 2 rules to this exercise. All right? Frank is not going to be allowed to see you, and you are not going to be allowed to see Frank. So what we are going to do to make this a little bit easier is we're going to bring this board in.
Get on shorter now.
Well, we had 2 options. If you were shorter, we were going to bring the board in. If you were taller, we were going to put you behind the hang-down screen.
Oh, okay. Okay.
All right. So Frank is going to get covered up by this. All right? You guys can't see Frank. Frank can't see you. That's rule number 1. Rule number 2 is the exercise does not end until everybody agrees that you're good. Okay, so I'm not going to be like, all right, time's up. Exercise goes until you feel like you have it. Now, everybody on your page, Frank, you're going to be able to see this too. Oh, there we go. Frank, this is what they have on their page.
Wow, that's pretty blank.
It's pretty blank. It's pretty blank, all right? Frank is the only one that knows what's in the box.
Wow.
All right?
Okay.
If you've ever watched the movie Seven, you know that reference. If you haven't, I wouldn't recommend it. It's a terrible movie. It's a terrible, terrible movie. Frank's job is to do everything in his power with his voice and with his communication to help you replicate in your box what Frank has in his box. Frank, you can ask questions. You can use any language you want. Group, you can ask Frank questions. There is no rules other than you can't see Frank, Frank can't see you, and the exercise ends when you feel you've got it in the box. Does that sound fair?
Can I say what's in the one?
You can say everything you want. There are no words you can't use.
Okay.
All right? Frank, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Group, are you ready?
Yes.
Frank, lead us away.
Okay. First is a thought cloud. You know, the ones with the little ovals that kind of go to a person. And inside it says, listening carefully is important. There's no other figure in there. That's on the upper left-hand side. On the right side, there is a sort of like an upside-down flagpole, very thin, coming down about 80% of the way in the middle. And then there is a black triangle that is pointed to the left at the very bottom of the flagpole. On the left, or on lower left, that's upper right. Lower left, there's a star, but the star is not with the main point pointing up. The point is probably going probably northwest. So just draw a star, you know. And then on the lower right, I'm sorry, go ahead.
How many points?
How many points in the star?
5. Standard star. And then on the lower right, that's lower left. Lower right, there is the square is diagonally cut, and the lower left is completely black, the upper right is completely white. And in the upper right part, there is a circle that's completely black.
Now, where was this?
Okay, in the lower right, that's lower right, so that this has it's diagonally cut. The lower, kind of the going southwest, if you will, towards the lower left, is completely black with a clear circle. And then the upper right, which is completely white, has a black circle kind of in the middle. Any questions?
Yes, what is it that we're supposed to be, what's our solution? Is it one word? Is it a place, person, thing, or?
You're supposed to be drawing it,
No, you're just supposed to be drawing what I'm explaining.
drawing what he's explaining.
Yeah.
Drawing what he's explaining?
Yes.
Right. So let me review again. Upper left, there's a thought cloud.
If you want, Frank, that's what they see.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
I know.
How many circles in the thought cloud?
On the lower right, there are 2 circles.
This is in the left-hand corner?
No, it's the right-hand corner. Right-hand, lower
Circle
right-hand
inside
corner. I'm sorry, one at a time, go ahead. One at a time.
Is the black circle in the lower right inside the larger?
Yes, inside the white space. Is that what you're asking?
Could we start from the beginning?
Sure.
Upper left, then
Upper left,
right?
there's upper left is a thought cloud. And in the thought cloud, it says listening carefully is important.
Just one thought cloud?
Just a dot, just a cloud, a thought cloud with, the little circles coming down smaller and smaller. There's no figure in it. On the right side, there is what looks like an upside down flagpole with a bowl at the end going from the top middle down to probably 80% down. It doesn't touch the bottom. And then at the lower, on that flagpole, there is a triangle that's 2 sides. It's an isosceles triangle, so 2 sides are the same. The bottom isn't, but it's facing left. The lower left square is a star, 5-point star, that's tilted slightly to the left. And then in the lower right, there is the square is divided from upper left to lower right. The part in the upper right is completely white with a black circle, and then the lower left is completely black with a white circle. The white circle appears to be smaller than the black circle.
I still have the same question.
Okay.
Whenever we find the solution, or whatever it is that we're looking for, is it going to be a one-word solution? Is it a...
No, you're just drawing.
You're literally just trying to replicate in your box what he sees in his box. So he's explaining what's in his box.
Whenever I look at it, it's going to give me an answer
No,
to something?
no,
No.
don't read into anything, just.
Oh, so in other words, you have to have some artistic ability or...
No, it's all geometric shapes.
Tell me the verbiage in the cloud again.
Yeah, listening carefully is important. Listening carefully is important.
One word per line?
That's a good question. Listening carefully is on one line, and right below it is the words, is important.
What's the font style?
So is the flagpole, does it cover the entire picture or is it just like halfway down?
It goes 80% of the way down.
80%?
Yes, it's 20%, right.
And then what percentage then compared to the flagpole
Is the triangle?
is the triangle
It's basically at the bottom.
at the bottom?
But it goes along the flagpole.
It's in line with the flagpole.
It's in line with the flagpole, right?
And then the box in the bottom right-hand corner, is it left of the triangle or below the triangle?
Well, the box is not the triangle. Triangle is the upper right-hand one.
Upper right.
Yeah, that's the
Thanks for that
flagpole with the
clarification.
triangle. And then in the lower right, it's divided from upper left to lower right into two pieces.
Right.
The one in the upper right is completely white, and it has a black circle in it. And the one that's towards the lower left half is completely black with a small white circle, and it's smaller than the black circle. Any questions?
Yes. Is your board divided in 4 quarters,
Yes,
in quadrants? Yeah.
yes,
Evenly?
yes. I didn't say that, yes.
Is the star blank inside, or is it just as...
It's light inside. It's just a black outline of the star. But around the star on the outside is white, and in the star is white.
So the star in relation to the cloud, what's the difference in the size? Is one bigger than the other? Or is one-
No, the 4 quadrants are the same.
Okay.
So listening carefully is important. That cloud is the upper left-hand quadrant. The right upper quadrant is the flagpole, the ball at the end, and the triangle pointing left. The star is in the lower left quadrant. That's, and it's 5 points, and it's tilted a little bit to the left. So the point is not going straight up, it's going a little bit to the left. And it's white inside, and it's white surrounding on the outside. Then the lower right is the quadrant that's divided in half diagonally from upper left to lower right. And the upper right-hand part of that is completely white with a completely black circle in it. And the lower left part of that 4th quadrant, the lower right, but it's the lower left part of that quadrant, is completely black with a circle that's completely white, that's smaller than the black circle above it, on the other part. Does that make sense?
Is the flag in the upper right to the left or the right of the pole?
There's no flag.
There was a
If you want to say the
triangle.
triangle,
Triangle.
if you want to say the triangle is a flag, I guess you'd say it's to the left.
But it's attached to the...
There appears to be a white line between it, so I'm not sure if it's totally attached. I don't think it is. There's a white line that goes along the part of the triangle that's next to the pole. Very thin white part.
Is the list or the bubble centered in that quadrant?
Yes,
And the star, is that centered also?
yes.
And was the triangle filled in, or,
No, it's completely white.
and the background on that quadrant is white?
Yes. I'm getting graded on how well you do this, so please ask questions.
I'm loving the looks on people's faces.
Any other questions?
Do we feel good?
One more. Just give me that
yes, sir.
verbiage one more time.
Listening carefully on one line, the line right below is important.
I don't have a question, but I have a comment, if that's okay.
Okay?
if at the very beginning of this exercise, if you had told me what I needed to do, it would have been extremely helpful. I didn't know I was supposed to be drawing exactly what he saw.
Oh, that's me. I thought I had mentioned everybody you're trying to put in your box what he sees in his box. That's on me. If I didn't say that clearly, that's I apologize.
Well, you probably said it clearly, but it got between your lips and my ears. It got.
Gotcha.
Well, I think he brings up a good point. I did not say that there were 4 quadrants at the beginning.
4 quadrants, yes. That was an interesting part. Everyone feel good, or we got any more questions? All right, I will take this back before we show it to anybody. Let's give Frank another hand. And move that. Thank you, Frank. All right, before I tell anybody what's in the box, don't worry, you're all going to see what he saw. I want to talk about a couple of things. First of all, I want to ask a question. Did anybody here change their drawing based on what you saw somebody else drawing or a question somebody else asked? Okay. I didn't say that wasn't allowed. That happens all the time in communication. You're understanding things a certain way, and then somebody else asks a question, or somebody else says, well, what I think they said was, and all of a sudden it shifts the way that you just understood it. So if you changed your drawing, that's fine. I was curious about Leonard. Hunter has gone through this exercise before. And so if Hunter was over there just like, oh, I know exactly what's supposed to happen because I've seen the final result before, Leonard would have an amazing advantage because he's sitting next to the guy that knows everything about this exercise. And I knew that. And that's exactly how it happens, right? Sometimes there's like 1 or 2 people in the room that were part of the inner conversation and they know what's happening and nobody else has any idea. That happens as well. I also want to focus on something else. What we did in this exercise is we made it, for the most part, as easy as possible. Now, you're thinking that's not true. I couldn't see him. And I did remove body language. That is the one thing I did to make it harder, okay? It would have been nice to be like, yeah, you know, it's like a triangle, right? Or things like that. I did remove that. But here's what I did also do that doesn't normally happen in communication. The first thing that I did is I made it to where there was no time limit. Most of the time in communication, you're trying to get through it. You're having a conversation, you need to move on to the next thing, and you're in a rush. There was no rush. The second thing I did is I invited you to use whatever words and questions that you wanted. Something else that in communication often does not happen. People are afraid to ask questions. People just nod, yep, I understand, I got it. Okay? And the third thing that we did in this particular, as we went through the exercise, is we made it to where there was 0 boundaries on what could go back and forth, right? So you go back and forth as many times as you wanted. And all of you could do it, right? So we'll talk a little bit more about this in a second. Who's ready to see what's in the box? Drum roll, please.
Pretty cool.
That is what he was looking at. Now, I have run this exercise no less than 100 times in my life. Let me tell you things that never get talked about. No one ever talks about the additional black line that's inside of the other lines. Nobody ever talks about this little knob at the end of the flag. He did mention that this is smaller than this. Somebody asked whether or not the star was 5 points or 6. Most people don't mention that. There's probably other things. But here's what I want to point out. I'm not pointing out what you did right or wrong. Here's what I want to ask. How often do we walk away from a conversation fully believing that what we just said was 100% understood? And a week later, we're like, what is wrong with you? I told you exactly what you were supposed to do. And they're like, and I did it. And the difference is what you see on the screen as opposed to what's on your screen or on your paper right now. Here's a humongous, another big difference. The entire time Frank was speaking, he had a hard copy image in front of him, a solid representation of what he was explaining. How often when we are communicating, is it a fuzzy, allegorical, mythological, hypothetical, and then someone asks a question and we don't even remember what we said 5 seconds ago, and so now it's changing in the middle of what we say? Communication is much harder than we think it is. We believe that when it exits our mouth, it makes sense to everybody else. Somebody called this a flag. He said, I don't see a flag, I see a triangle. That's his frame of reference. Nothing wrong with that. I've had people call this a golf flag many, many times. I haven't seen a golf flag that's triangle in 60 years. I've had people call it a Mario Kart flag. Probably slightly more accurate, right, if you're from that era. I've had this called a yin-yang. But if you don't know what a yin-yang is, that means nothing to you, right? I've had this called the Dallas Cowboys star. Boo, no. Right? The point is that our frame of reference has a humongous impact on the way we communicate. And most of the time when we think we're communicating effectively, exactly what happened today happened. Frank is not at fault. Frank communicated. He used words. He did it very rapidly. He did it effectively. He said we're doing quadrants and right and left. But you're sitting there going, what? And he said, I didn't even know there's 4 quadrants. And Frank took acknowledgement of that. That was something I was like, ooh, this should be fun. He hasn't talked about the quadrants. They don't have quadrants. That's why I said that's what they have on their screen. I was like, just so you know, they don't have the quadrants.
You're not going to make them show what they do.
Did anybody want to show? Would anybody like to show what they did? Go ahead.
Yeah. So at first it looked like that because he hadn't mentioned the quadrants.
Quadrants, yes.
And then when you mentioned the quadrants, then
it went a little better.
Shape.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Excellent. Very good. Look at that.
I kept thinking about the flag. I was thinking about where is it going?
Yes. There we go. Very good.
I didn't hear it upside down.
I see. Yep, very good. And so here's what's cool about this exercise too. How many of you guys got pretty close? Within reason, right? Pretty close. What do you got? Let me see. What do you got? I see someone pointing at you. What do you got?
I got
There you go. Okay. Yeah. Right? So pretty close. And yet, if you were supposed to now take action, would you or would you not be misaligned with expectation? As a leader, we have to communicate at a higher level. Why do we have to communicate at a higher level? Because our second key takeaway, if you're taking notes, the question is not what should I say, the question is what do they need to hear? Frank brought this up earlier when he said you have to know your audience. You have to know what is their reference point, what is their frame, where are they coming from? Not what is the best thing I can say and how can I make this a zinger and how can I make this exciting? No, where are my people coming from? Am I talking to a group of sales representatives or am I talking to a group of accountants? It's a very, very different presentation. It has nothing to do with what do I need to say. What do they need to hear in order for the message that I want them to have to actually make it to them? That is a question I don't think most speakers or most leaders ask. I think we're pretty good at asking, okay, what do I need to say in this situation? But how often do we ask, what do they need to hear? What will actually allow them to understand? What if we stopped going into communication with the perspective of I'm going to say what needs to be said, and we went into all these conversations with, what can I do to serve the person I'm getting ready to speak to? How can I meet them where they are and bring them on a journey of understanding? How can I help, not how can I tell or lecture or inform or whatever else that we might be doing? What would that mean? Is it possible that it would mean that we would do a little bit more listening to understand? Would it mean that we might do a little bit more putting ourselves in their shoes? Would it mean that maybe we do a little bit more of something we're going to talk about in a second called empathetic framing? Would it mean we would do less lecturing, dictating, and thinking that we know everything? Yes, Frank?
I was just going to mention one thing. At the beginning of all my presentations, I have 2 easels, or if it's virtual, I use the chat. And I ask the audience 2 questions. And I sometimes get there an hour before and ask people as they're walking in.
That's a great idea.
The 2 questions are, what frustrates you about this topic? And the second one is, what would make this presentation successful for you?
I often use that second one. That's a good one, yeah.
And that's our contract.
Yeah.
And I have somebody that I give them full permission if Frankie didn't get this topic.
I love that.
So it gets out what they really want.
I love that. Let me share a thought by Dodinsky. This is not in your booklet, so feel free to write this down if you would like. Can I ask somebody from the room to read that off the screen for us? Go ahead.
People will hear you better if you speak from a voice of compassion instead of authority. They long to be understood more than to be lectured.
What do we think? Any thoughts from you or anybody else in the room?
How do you go about doing that?
It's a great question.
No clue at all.
Great. Well, that's what we're going to answer. That's what we're going to answer next. Randy, I should bring you up. We have some challenges to empathetic communication. Now, what is empathy? Empathy is putting ourselves in other people's shoes. And if we go back to Dodinsky, people will hear you better if you speak from a voice of compassion instead of authority, because they want to be understood. The only way they're going to be understood is if we are trying to put ourselves in their shoes and speak from where they are. And there are a number of barriers. What are some things that get in the way of us communicating so that others will understand? What are some things that stand as barriers to empathetic communication?
Ego.
Ego, absolutely. What else?
Being brought up in a different country.
Country, culture, language, absolutely. Pronunciation. Or dictation, absolutely. Anybody else?
Having your intentions misunderstood.
Misunderstood intentions, absolutely. Anybody else?
Sense of humor or slang
Yes.
taken the wrong way?
Yes, 100%. So all of these things, there's probably a million more. I'm going to categorize them into 4 categories real quick, and I think we're all going to agree that these categories cover them. So one is going to be experience. What have we done that is not the same? If I am an engineer, I've got a lot of experience that the average person is not going to understand what in the world I'm talking about. If I'm not an engineer and you are, I'm not going to have a clue what you're talking about. Right? So our experiences, our perspectives, the lens, the ideas that we have, that's going to be a barrier if we don't share it. Another one is language. And this can be both actually a different language, Spanish versus English, but it can also be a different dialect, New York versus Louisiana, if you will. All right, sometimes it can be very difficult to understand when you have that different dialect. We have culture. Somebody brought up culture. Culture can be things like your tone, your body language, different connotations and insinuations based on the way words are used. And we might be using the exact same word, but our culture puts 2 completely different definitions on that word. And then the last one is something that Randy talked about. It's the relationship that we have. What has happened between us before the conversation in question is going to influence what happens in that conversation. I tell leaders all the time, you can't treat your people like crap all week and then on Friday expect to have a great conversation with them. You can't be known as the one that only comes over when it's time to lecture somebody and then expect that people are going to want to tell you about their day. So the relationship we have. These are the broad 4 categories, but the question is, what do we do? And that is our 3rd key takeaway, because our 3rd key takeaway that you can have today is that effective communication requires what we call empathetic framing. Empathetic framing. Now, who knows what it means to frame in communication? Anybody have any ideas?
Isn't framing kind of like setting an expectation?
Setting an expectation, I like that. Anybody else have any thoughts?
Well, there's certain
Proper
ways.
introduction, body, and conclusion.
Okay, proper intro, body, conclusion. Frank?
There's different ways to say the same thing, and there's different tones of voices.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. So,
Tones of voices. When you speak, Frank, can you be a little louder for me, please? Okay. Because you're facing that direction.
so framing is the ability, and maybe I could even call it the art, of taking our barriers and saying what we need to say to acknowledge those barriers and move through or around them. For example, if we're going to talk about experience, we might either ask a question, like he did, or we might say, now I know you're an engineer, so can you explain this to me like I'm 5? Why? Because that can help bring down. We're framing it in that way, all right? It's the way to overcome it. It's almost like learning a new dialect. If I speak this session is going to get given in the next 3 weeks. This session is going to be given to 4 different groups of people. It's going to be given to some high-level executives. It's also going to be given to a set of emerging leaders at a community college. Do you think that I'm going to say it exactly the same way for those 2 groups? No. I'm going to frame this information for the executives in the sense of how much their miscommunication is resulting in misplaced company culture and misplaced production, or misguided productivity and lack of efficiency, because that's what they care about. When I talk to the brand new leaders, I'm going to talk about their opportunity to make an impact in the lives of those they lead, because that's where they're at in their leadership journey. We are going to frame this information differently. How many of you are on LinkedIn? Okay, if you're on LinkedIn, you know that LinkedIn has become a slimy sales platform. All right, it's annoying. You're getting 13 emails a day on LinkedIn to tell you that you need to buy their next thing. I'm on LinkedIn a lot. And in fact, if we're connected, you see that I post pretty often. But you know what I do before I connect with anybody? I acknowledge, well, I look at the profile, yes, but I acknowledge that elephant in the room. And sometimes I just say, I'm not here to sell you anything, I just wanted to connect. Frame what I say. If I am trying to sell them something, let's say it's something I really think is beneficial for them, I'm not just plastering the world with my advertising, but I really think, I'll say that. I'm not one that usually sells on this platform. I know we're all getting inundated with this stuff. I think this could be really beneficial for you. Let me know if it's something you're interested in. I'm framing it so that my, hey, I've got a new product, doesn't just get pushed out with everybody else's, I've got a new product. It's all about meeting people where they are, using the words that resonate. There was a time when I was training manager, we had a very high number of individuals that were in Honduras. Honduras speaks a form of Spanish. We were an English-speaking company, not only in practice, but also by policy. Therefore, it was my job to speak in English. But what I could do for those Honduran representatives that we were serving is I could choose English words that had Latin roots. Because instead of saying associate, I could say colleague. Because colleague is Latin-based and they're much more likely to understand the word colleague than associate. There are things that we can do to speak to an individual, not in a demeaning way, not in a condescending way, but in a way that makes the most sense to them as a person so that they have the best chance of understanding what we're saying. And framing is a lot of it. It's taking note of who they are, where they are in their journey, and why they should care about this topic. At the very beginning, I'll give you just a second, yes ma'am. At the very beginning, I said you're Toastmasters. You're already good communicators. Why would I say that? Because you just sat in on a communication session and your first thought, if you're being really honest, was probably, let's see what this is all about. I acknowledge that by addressing it from the start and saying, hey, I get it, but we're focused on the speech. Are we focused on the audience? Yes ma'am, you had a question or a comment.
Well, I was just going to say that I have two brothers who, live in Italy, they're Italian, and do a lot of business in North Africa and Spain. And of course, I have been asking you English literature, so I learned to correct them, right? And so my brother wrote this fax, this was some years ago, to somebody in Algeria. It was all broken English, no question about it. And I corrected it. And he looked at me and he said, if I send this contract to that person,
They'll never understand
they'll
it.
never understand it.
Yeah.
So there is a language of broken English in there
Yeah.
that works.
Yes.
For people for whom English isn't the first language.
And as somebody that has a lot of appreciation for language and words, I resonate with what you're saying on both sides because I tend to be very precise in my language, and yet I understand that when I was learning Spanish, I needed them to cut to the exact words that mattered and get rid of all the fluff because otherwise I wasn't going to understand it. There are times now when if I'm speaking to someone in Spanish, or either in Spanish or in English, and I know Spanish is their primary language, I will make my own English very choppy because I know that those are the words they're more likely to understand. I'm not trying to demean, I'm not trying to dismiss, I'm not trying to condescend to them, but I am trying to meet them where they are and serve them in that conversation. Yes, sir.
And John, one thing that I've been working on and trying to employ in some of my trainings is, of course, all of what you said, but one thing that's really become interesting to me that leaders are having to deal with, executives are having to deal with, is the generational diversity in organizations today. And so they speak their own languages all the way through that.
Yep.
And so we all have to be
100%
cognizant of that so that we can speak that language. And even though we've got this experience, we don't have the experience that individual that's coming right in the organization.
We're over there talking about metrics and they're over there going 6-7. All right, we got to wrap up. We've only got 5 minutes. So before I say anything, what's one thing that you took away from today's session? I want 4 people. 4 people that can give me one thing. Randy, go ahead.
The
learn how to be more empathetic.
More empathetic. Perfect. Yes, sir.
And it's so important, is listening. If we've been very keen in listening in that first part of this session, I wouldn't have had to ask 15 questions.
Listening. Right. Leonard.
I love the idea about framing out and breaking things out into sections and thinking it that way. They give me a clear picture. And how you have the frames.
Yes.
That gave me a good visual.
Perfect. We got two more. 1 and 2. Let's go 1 and 2.
Focus on what they need to hear, not what I want to say.
Perfect. And?
Yeah, I like the framing too, because it's like the elephant in the room. If you know there's going to possibly be a misunderstanding, lay those cards on the table and get the result you want.
Absolutely. I know everybody here, hopefully everybody here has something that they took away. Otherwise, I have failed you miserably. The 4 things I will say to you is that as humans, as leaders, we're constantly communicating. So we got to acknowledge that communication is hard. The minute we think it's easy is the minute we stop trying. As we acknowledge that it's hard, we have to also make sure we stop asking, what do I need to say? Begin to ask, what do they need to hear? One of the most useful tools in that is going to be framing. And if we will do all of that, we will begin to communicate at a higher level, have higher levels of understanding, higher levels of collaboration, higher levels of satisfaction, all of the things. How many of you wish that your kids could actually understand you? Maybe what if we asked, what do they need to hear in this situation? We've given a lot of time for questions. If you have additional questions, I will be here all day. I'm happy to have this discussion, but I'm also wanting to share that there's ways for you to continue this. So there's in your booklet that you downloaded, there's a section, all of our courses have something called Make It Happen, and as Make It Happen, it's a way for you to deploy this. It's a way for you to start working on this and not just make it something that you went to, something that you are doing. So when you're listening, listen to everything, not just the words. Rehearse what you understood for clarity. Ask questions, and then when you're speaking, continue to listen to those nonverbal cues that are right in front of you. Use empathetic language and then ask them, hey, for the sake of my own benefit, can you tell me what you heard so I know that I said it correctly? That gives you something there. That's your Make It Happen. There's another thing that I found to be very beneficial. This is called our personal investment assignment, and we recommend that you record a video of yourself communicating with someone. It's game tape. You will learn so much about your communication style watching a recording of you. I highly recommend it. That is on, I believe, what page is that on? It's page 8 in your booklets you downloaded. There's some additional resources that we always offer on page 10 as well. If you would like to connect with me, this is my, there we go. That is my LinkedIn. If you are on LinkedIn, I would love to connect with you. If you've got questions, comments, concerns, or even complaints, I field all of those, and I would be happy to communicate further. That is my LinkedIn profile. I'll be happy to connect with you there. Got to make sure I'm done in 2 minutes, so we're wrapping up quickly. But again, I'll be here all day for anybody that wants to ask questions or doesn't get any of these QR codes. We got one more QR code if you're interested. If the type of content that you got today was valuable to you and you have any interest, this is our company multi-link. So that'll get you our Instagram, our Facebook, our YouTube, our LinkedIn, everything. And so you can get resources like this free all the time. We're constantly posting stuff like this that would be helpful. This is SML Consultive, where we equip tomorrow's leaders and elevate today's results. This next slide, if you keep your phones out, the next slide is a non-obligation. This is just if you want to do me a favor. In fact, let me preface it by this. If you like today's session, let Sharon and Katrine and all them know that they did something positive for everybody here. If you hated the session, come tell me. As I said, 4 more groups are getting this in the next 2 weeks, and I need to fix it. So if we did not have a great session, I want to know about it. But if you really loved this session and you feel like this is something other companies, other organizations should have, I would invite you to leave a Google review for us. This QR code will take you directly to the Google review page for our company. This is not me. You're not reviewing me. If you want to review me, just come hit me. That's what most people do. It works out. But this will allow you to review the content and let other people in the world know that you got something valuable and that their company might be able to benefit from this as well. Ladies and gentlemen, it has been an absolute privilege to stand in front of you for the last 45 minutes. I appreciate your attention. I hope that it was helpful. Thank you so much. Hope you have a great rest of your day.